Hi, I'm Brandon. I love The Way Home.
I'm Dan, and I also love The Way Home.
Well, I am Alex Clarke. I'm one of the co-showrunners and co-creators of The Way Home, and I also happen to really love The Way Home.
And I'm Marley Reed. I'm one of the co-creators and executive producers of The Way Home. And surprise, surprise, I'm a pretty big fan too.
And this is the
Deck the Hallmark Podcast.
Deck the Hallmark, it's his podcast. Brandon and friends host this podcast. We hope you like this jolly podcast.
Today's an exciting day, Dan.
Big day.
This is an exciting day.
Big day. We nailed the intro.
We did nail
which
the
is
intro
good. We're off
first
to
time.
a good start.
Yep.
Yes. We have Alex and Marley with us, executive producers of The Way Home. The Way Home.
And it's not every day that we get to talk to two people at once, but it's especially a special day when we're talking about The Way Home.
Yes,
a
it
show
is.
that we both love.
That's right. Yeah.
And are eagerly awaiting season 2.
Eagerly awaiting season 2, and Alex and Marley have promised to answer all of our questions.
That's right. They're not going to dodge
no
any.
stone unturned.
They're not going to say they can't. So this is gonna be serious.
Exciting. It's exciting.
I do want to dive into a little bit of each of your careers before The Way Home, if that's okay. Alex, if we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about you and how you got started in the TV world and what you have made, what you're proudest of maybe leading up to The Way Home.
Okay, well, I was going to say I'm proudest of The Way Home, obviously. No, I've been in the industry, I guess, for the last, 15 years-ish, a little bit. And, ahead of this, I was working on a show called Heartland. It's pretty big here in Canada. I think, the States has caught on as well. It's currently in its 16th season, which is pretty amazing. I was on it for about 6 years of that. And in the midst of that, got the call about this amazing concept that Marley Reed here had created, and basically got sent this amazing treatment about a show about a mother and a daughter who travels through time, and it just felt incredibly kismet and meant to be. And I said, sign me up, please. Yes, please.
Love that. Marley, how about you?
So I actually took a bit of a different path. I've been working for the last 5 or so years as a development executive. So it's a little bit of an odd thing that I ended up pitching my own show and then sold it and then made the jump over to writer-producer from there. So
wow. So did you, first of all, y'all are both from Canada, correct?
Yeah,
okay.
We're both in Toronto.
Okay, fantastic. And this idea of yours, you pitched it how many times? Was it first? Because I heard it was like a part of Netflix, but before Hallmark. What was the? Can I have that story? But also, how many times did you pitch this and hear no before you heard yes, or was it just twice?
No, once.
Once.
So I pitched it once when I was straight out of film school. It went terribly. I clearly hadn't really figured out the concept yet. I was horrified. I never pitched it again for 10 years.
Wow. So what was that
sat
like?
on it.
Did you just walk in and go, hear me out, pond? What happened?
It needed time to marinate. I hadn't worked a lot of the kinks out. I pitched it in a competition, actually, that went terribly, and the judge interrupted me midway through and said, this kind of just sounds like a ripoff of Back to the Future. And I was like, couldn't recover. Horrifying experience. Went on to become a development executive. It was always kind of marinating in the back of my mind. And then my boss at Neshama Entertainment, Arnie Zapersky, he was asking if I had any ideas for series. And I brought him this one. I worked on it. I fixed some of the problems. I figured out how time travel would work better for the concept. And then we pitched it to Lisa Hamilton Daly at Netflix. That was the one and only place we pitched it. She bought it there, and then she ended up bringing it with her when she went to Hallmark. So yeah, it's been pitched twice.
I love that.
I have no idea how often that happens where somebody is at one network or streaming service or whatever, and then that person leaves, takes something with them to another place. I imagine that was weird. Maybe you had Netflix on your mind, and then you kind of have to go, well, does that change everything? What was that process like for you, hearing, hey, Netflix, that's wonderful, and then I guess we're going to Hallmark now, which is also great, just different?
It's extremely rare for a producer, for a development executive to take a project with them, and we were so lucky that Lisa did. And yes, when she landed at Hallmark, we were sort of going, okay, well, people die, and this is, it's not necessarily the happiest of endings. How does that sort of fit with the Hallmark way of things? And we were so lucky because, right from the minute one at Hallmark, Lisa said, we want it the way it was. And then we had these incredible creative executives at Hallmark that really were our champions in keeping it Netflix tone, because at the end of the day, it is a show about heart and family. And what was so great was we were allowed to kind of not have the happy endings that you would normally expect. They felt, they wanted to keep it as real as possible, other than the time travel.
Yeah. Well, who knows? We don't know. You could be from I don't know. Anyway, the thing that I do love about the show, just to piggyback on that real quick, is that you do have, I do think there is beauty in the ashes. Like when you lose something, I think there's something to be said for how that affects your character. And to have this boy, Jacob, that disappears at such a young age and how it affects everyone, and finding redemption from that is only possible if you have the darkness of that loss there. So that really was the question, was how much did Hallmark come in and go, hey, this is great and we love it, but we have notes. Did they do that? Was there much of that at all?
No.
It was amazing. They were so supportive of the idea that came to them. I mean, really all that changed was, runtime for broadcast.
Yeah, you got to get that 42 minutes thing. But what about
tight 42?
That's tough. That's tough. Apparently the people at Stranger Things were like 42. What about 84? I
think there's a happy medium there.
Gosh, there is
somewhere in between 42.
Good TV in 42 minutes. It's possible. We used to do it all the time, watching shows when I was a kid. But I don't know where that where we went off the rails there. When did Andie MacDowell get involved? When did we that's a big deal to land her, right? She's from,
in our minds, she was there from the start.
I'm sure. Oh, did you write it for her?
We were definitely imagining her.
Wow.
Yeah, from day one, we couldn't imagine anyone else who could really bring what she brought to the role, but also, she's just so incredible in the sense that she is the one character that we needed to play in both eras. Mm-hmm. And in our mind, that was Andie. She's just so incredibly ageless that you could play 99 Dell and 2023 Dell and not think twice. She's
from about 20 minutes away from where we are right now, our hometown here. We're in Greenville, South Carolina. So she's pride of South Carolina for us. So she's from Gap.
Oh.
Yeah, people love, she's wonderful. She's a national treasure. So that's fantastic. And I do think, there's a sensibility to her role that's very difficult when you have to play 24 years apart. And she does such a good job. And you guys, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but that you can have a great idea, but when you can land an Andie MacDowell, it brings some credibility to the whole proceeding that is just, you can't really put a price on that.
Yeah. And, honestly, she came in quite early on, which was, again, just such an amazing vote of confidence for us and for the show. She read the pilot and just kind of fell in love, which we were, again, so lucky that she did. And so she was our first sort of, the big news of getting her was our first big casting feat and triumph.
Awesome.
It's a good triumph. That's how I don't know if
you
can get much better than that.
Yeah.
I want to start at the cold open of the season because it's fascinating, especially when you look at the season as a whole, because we don't really go back there until the end again. And so it's this amazing sandwich of flashback. Where did that come from, or when did it happen in the process? Were you looking for something special to start the season off with, or was it something that came organically and somebody in the writer's room was like, what if we started with it? How did that kind of come about? Because it was a brilliant opening to that.
Did you know the last shot when you created the first one?
Well, I would say the first shot was always from the very beginning in my head. Okay. It was just such a clear, and the way they shot it, I was like, this is exactly what I always wanted. Heather and Alex, our showrunners, were the geniuses who came up with making it end with that as well. So, I don't think I ever had much rhyme or reason to it. Like I always knew it was Kat, and eventually we'd reveal it, but they brought this great bookend kind of feel to it that, you know, we set up something at the beginning of the season and we reveal it at the end and tie it all together nicely.
But we did always know it was going to be Kat, because we shot that segment fairly early on in our first block. You had to, because you had to match the weather. So this is the kind of show that you do have to really know your ending before you even start shooting, because based off of where someone will go in time, you have to film that to match a certain season. Like, for example, in our season 1, you know, obviously Alice returning and mailing the letter in episode 10, that we had to shoot in our first block because it had to look like summer. It had to look like they hadn't gotten there yet.
And the fact that you're paying attention to those things tells me all I need to know about this this program. I do have.
There's a lot of brains breaking in the writer's room for sure.
And then also in the production office when we tell them what we need, and they're like,
I bet.
We also have to schedule in some scenes from episode 10.
Man, I'm a TV nerd and I'm a time travel nerd. So if you'll just bear me the time, I'm going to try. I have 2 questions. The first is on the TV side of things, and I think you kind of answered it, but I'd love for you to dig deeper into, like, 2 examples of 2 of my favorite TV shows, Lost, Breaking Bad. So Lost, like J.J. Abrams said, I knew the last scene of Lost from the time I started the show. You know, and I don't want to spoil Lost for anyone 20 years later.
Hey, I watched it for the first time during COVID.
It opens in on Jack's eye and pans out, and the last one pans back in on his eye and closes. And he's like, I knew that was how we were going to end, begin and end with Jack in the Woods, blah, blah, blah. And then Breaking Bad, Vince Gilligan would like routinely say, hey, we would sit in the writing room at the beginning of the year and during the season and go and just throw ideas and then say, all right, let's follow the avenue that makes the most sense and has the most integrity to our characters. And even if that's not where we started, that's where we're going, because that's where the characters are leading us. And so I feel like you kind of have to have one writer's room or the other. I feel like it's hard to have a balance. Like, you either have to say, hey, this is the playbook, or you have to say, where are our characters taking us? So what was kind of, I don't know if that's more for Marley on the writer side of things or more for you, Alex, but what was the driving force with a show like this with time travel and some intricate plot details and some definite, like, subtle audience manipulation? What was the driving force in how you told your story?
I think, Marley really, especially with our first season, had mastered the sort of tent poles as she was working her way through the concept ahead of, myself and Heather coming on board. So we were really lucky when we got to the writer's room that we kind of knew the trajectory for the season. We knew that Kat was the White Witch. We knew what was going to happen to Colton and how Kat and Alice were involved in that. We knew all those plot points. So we kind of had a map and what goes in what episode. But the nice thing was that once we started casting and seeing, who Kat really was through Kyler and who Alice really was through Sadie, we could play a little bit with what they were doing on an episode to episode basis while always keeping those tent poles in mind.
That's good. I like that. Do we have a map for season 2?
We do. Of course we do. Of course.
Did you have a map of season 2 before season 1?
We had ideas for sure. It's funny you were saying it could only be one or the other. Alex, I don't know if you'd agree. I kind of do feel like we're in the middle in a grander scheme. We certainly have ideas for ongoing seasons, but we are also shaping the story as we go based on certain storylines that resonate better, or, certain combinations of actors that go well together. So season 2 is really,
And I feel like in case you didn't get renewed, which would have been, people would have rioted, but in case you didn't, to have a great ending like you have, you could be so proud of that. Like if Hallmark did the wrong thing and was like, you're not renewed, you could be like, look at these 10 episodes and we nailed it. Like we landed it perfectly, and people would have questions, but you stuck the landing of the big mystery that you begin with. So the props to you. But like to your point of like following characters, like if for instance, you listen to a podcast from South Carolina that said, hey, the only guy that knows what's going on in both time periods, like if he were to be nefarious, if the guy that is the only person that is somewhat omniscient in this show who knows what's going to happen before it happens a little bit, if that guy were to be a bad guy, wouldn't that be fun? I know that everyone in Hallmark would hate you, but it would make us happy. It was that, like, are you to the point where everything's on the table for these characters, or are there some things that are sacred? And like Elliot is just a God-fearing man who would never do anything of the sort.
I have to say I really did love that theory as you guys were playing it out. And in my head, I started looking at Evan a little differently as we were editing the show. I was like, oh God, you people. But yeah, I think especially with the first season, you do need to know where your characters are going to wind up. Give the audience, what they really want out of that kind of a relationship of a will they, won't they, unrequited love. And who knows where we're going to take it in a season 2. I mean, that's sort of the fun.
Or season 10?
Yeah, season 10. Of course, right now, we've got a commitment for The Way Home 10 seasons. Wow. We just got it from the EP. So this is breaking. It's breaking right here. Yes.
It's true.
Do you in your mind have a perfect, like, at least this variation of the show? Like Ted Lasso, he had an idea for the show he wanted to create, and then if something comes off of that, great. Is there a perfect in your mind amount of seasons to tell this specific story, and then it can continue because it's time travel and we can do that forever if we want to?
I think we would love to see it go for an infinite, a Heartland amount of seasons would be ideal. That would be great.
The cool thing about time travel is that you can do that. You know what I mean? There is plenty of world building that you can do. And that
by season 11, they're going to be with the dinosaurs.
That's great.
In Port Haven, though. In Port Haven.
Of course, yeah. And then Netflix could buy the movies from you, and you could make like a heart. Like anyway, sorry, we have a whole different. Anyway, my time travel question. So I love time travel movies. First of all, Marley, when you're designing this show, and they basically said you're ripping off Back to the Future, which I don't think this is at all. I think you clearly did.
Just because you didn't hear the original pitch.
Yeah, that's true. The first pitch may have been like, so there's this girl. Her name's McFly. She goes back. There's Chuck Berry. There's a dance, Enchantment Under the Sea. So do you have like some time travel movies or shows that you love that are like beloved by you, or like classics that you really love? Or was this just an idea that happened to include time travel for you?
A little bit of both. I definitely wasn't setting out to create a time travel show. It came from this kind of mind-wandering thought of, if you could meet one of your parents as a teenager, would you have gotten along? Like my mom was always this real rebel, hippie, out in the world adventure girl, and I was such a theater drama nerd. So in my head, I always thought, no, we definitely wouldn't have gotten along. We were such opposites. So that was where the idea came from. But there are certain time travel shows and books that I did love the way Time Traveler's Wife. I loved the way they used time travel because it was different than most time travel shows. What I didn't want to do was create a show where we just get mired in this trying to change things, trying to fix things, many worlds kind of mess. And we certainly play with that in the show because anyone who's been through tragedy, of course, you're going to try so hard to change things. But it was always this idea that what's happened has always happened and you can't change things. So I liked that
I love that.
Is there an Elliot in your writer's room whose sole job is to keep the rules that you've kind of put in place for the time travel?
No, that's kind of on. I would say it's you and me, Marley, right? That are the rule checkers. On
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
hard.
That was my kind of nerd question. Was time travel? You can either, and I've said it on the show when we cover it, but you can either have a can't change the past, can't change the future with the past timeline, or you can have a like create other timelines,
Multiverse situation.
you know, or you can have a butterfly effect where you go back and one little thing changes everything. But you have to, once you kind of choose one of those, you have to stick with that. Or some viewers are going to say, wait a minute, they're not following the rules.
By some, you mean yourself.
Me, yes. I'm the one who will be the first one to be like, they didn't follow the rules. But yeah, and so was there a lot of discussion on that, on what our time travel rules are? Or was it, as you've already alluded to, Marley, the idea that this show is about this idea and you can't change it? If you spend your time perseverating on the past, you'll miss out on what it means to love others in the future and love others in the present. Was there a lot of time spent on that?
Where'd you go? Are you there, Marley?
Yeah, sorry. I don't know, something just cut out.
No, I think, it was a challenge, and it's a good challenge because, yeah, as you say, this is in a time travel show. You do have to be loyal to the rules you set up. Otherwise, you lose the faith of your viewer. You lose the involvement of your viewer because, yeah, if you're all of a sudden jumping all over the place and breaking rules that you yourself have created, then your story becomes implausible. So we were really, really cautious and very strict about the things we set up. And I think that the fun, the creativity comes from playing with that idea of what happened will always happen. When you think about Del saying, well, there was a woman at the funeral and I think my husband had an affair, it's, well, that did actually happen, but guess what? And I think that was where the sort of creativity in the writer's room really came to fruition, because when you have these rules, you kind of can test the boundaries of them. You can play with them and keep people on their toes still, while also saying, no, this is a hard, fast thing.
I think moving forward, we also, we were very aware in the season 2 writer's room of the rules we've set up. People are expecting them now. So, how do we surprise people without breaking our own rules? Yeah.
That's good.
Can you go forward in time?
Yeah, that's my big question. Can you go forward in time?
No comment.
Yeah.
No comment? None? Not even a little comment?
I mean, it's a rule we haven't broached yet in the show. So
yeah. I know you haven't.
I think that you have. I think that you've broached that rule by establishing what happens if you were to go in the future would inherently change the past. But I know that I'm in a disagreement with Brain on that, which makes this fun. Because I do think that all we've ever seen is time travel back and then going back to present day or to the future. But
I think there's two sets of rules too, in the sense that there's the time travel rules, but there's also the pond rules.
Yeah.
And that's kind of something that we explore within first season, but also will carry forward as well, just to make it, the logic of it all, a little clearer, I think.
You guys said that you listened to our show, which was so flattering, and we're happy that you did. In the first episode, I did say that the dog was time traveling, and I just would like credit from the producer. No, I'm just kidding. When you heard that, were you like, "How? Wait, that's supposed to be a big secret," or were you just like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Nobody's gonna believe him.
But it was a little bit of both for me. It was a bit of a, no. And then, maybe he's the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the fun of time travel shows. So much of it is just literally throwing out, like, what if it's this? What if it's
That's
this?
right. Yeah.
And so, even with Jacob and, like, theories we have on Jacob, like, What
we
if
were way off on some of those?
Maybe. Like, I still think he could be Byron, and maybe he has some head. Maybe he has a head. Like, when you time travel, maybe he hit his head on a rock. He came back. He's back. And then he aged, and now he's older. I don't know. I'm just saying.
And trying to date his own mom.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't remember it, maybe he hit his head.
No, it's still very. It's probably too dark for Hallmark. Would be my guess. It's more like an old boy level.
I will say when that was happening, I was like, I guess that's not what's going on here.
But also,
no, look, the fact that you guys like the fact that people are theorizing is so great. Like, to us, that was just like, oh, we've done our job. That people are actually watching the show and then talking amongst themselves about, well, where do you think Jacob is, and who do you think the White Witch is? I mean, I have to say that was the one that I'm most proud of, is that no one really got that it was Kat until
that was like, a big one. Yeah, I thought it was Andy McDowell. I thought it was Dell.
Yeah.
That's who I thought it was the whole time. For sure, she'd been time traveling the whole time. The way you guys do a great job with her dialogue. I don't know if it's you or somebody in the writer's room, to make sure you never give away. It's just enough ambiguity as to whether or not she knows that time travel.
It turns out she can time travel.
It's so
like,
perfect. Okay. It is the thing that I just don't anticipate. We watch Hallmark movies for a living, and Lifetime movies and Up movies. I just don't anticipate that level of just scrutiny and dialogue that you guys brought to it, and I think you nailed that for sure. And the cat thing did catch me off guard. I thought that was a really well done thing. But part of the beauty of this to me is that anyone that has gone to the pond, if you don't know where they are, they can be really any age, because if they travel back in time 60 years ago and the pond takes you where you're supposed to go, there's a lot of fluidity there, no pun intended, that allows you some opportunity.
And maybe you hit your head and you forget who your mom is when you get back. I know it sounds gross. I'm just saying it shouldn't be off the table altogether.
Man. Byron's
weird. He just ups and leaves all of us. I'm just saying.
Yeah. A lot of archives there.
A lot of archives.
Yeah. Can I ask you this? You said that Hallmark gave you no notes. And this is weird, but I do think for us we've been watching this network for 5 straight years for our full-time job now. We got to hear utterances of hell and damn on this show. And I think both of those words were used correctly in The Way Home. I think you could get away with much stronger dialogue considering the circumstances of losing your father or your little brother or jumping into a pond and going back 24 years. I feel like the very least you would hear is those two, realistically speaking. Was there really was there any limit on that? Because we've watched 500 Hallmark Christmas movies. I've never heard it mentioned before. So that was it felt like a new Hallmark to me when we heard those.
It would be weird for Santa to be like, what the hell, though? So, it fits. It definitely fits.
Yeah.
I mean, we do air at 9 p.m. So.
That's true.
Yeah, of course.
No, I think we were really lucky in that, on the series side of things at Hallmark, they really are trying to do new things. And we kind of were, at the forefront of that with the show. And as a result, they were willing to sort of take these risks when they felt earned, as you say, that we could go that little extra mile. I mean, I think one of the things that actually surprised us the most was the Kat Elliott kiss.
Yeah.
Because that was a steamy situation.
Yes,
and we were, that was what we had hoped for, but it was amazing when Hallmark was like, that is amazing. And they sided with us. It was fabulous. And I think little things like that, we were so grateful for, and we were so lucky to have the creative team that we do have at Hallmark, because they are willing to go that little extra for this, to make it more real and to make it feel special.
Mm-hmm. How much are you all working from the writer's room to filming? Like episode 6 comes to mind, which is such a great episode of building tension.
Oh my gosh.
Throughout the episode and trying to find Jacob, and then the whole reveal. And I imagine that when you're in the writer's room, you're like, this is really good on paper. But then it's up to, on set to make sure that tension comes from the paper onto the screen. And then there's so many pieces of making TV that is crazy, but then it also makes sure in the editing room that it all flows together. How what is that process like for you in crafting something that works really well on the page and then to finally put it out and make it actually work the way you hope it works?
Well, episode 6, was written by Heather Conkey, who's my co-showrunner and also my mom, just FYI.
Wow.
And she just, I'm still in awe of episode 6. And Marley and I, the way that this show kind of ended up working because of the continuity of it all, and you are basically making 2 shows in one, with a whole different set of characters, a whole different set, and wardrobe and all that stuff. One of us always had to be on set to say like, oh no, it's actually like February, so those plants can't be there, or whatever it was. And we were both very lucky, as well as Heather, to be there for the carnival of it all, which took 3 days to shoot. And it was intense, and we had an incredible director, Grant Harvey, who just like knocked it out of the park. And everyone was on the same team and was through the whole production. Everyone really believed in these scripts. It was so lovely going on set, and you'd hear lighting guys and set deck people talking amongst themselves about like, well, who do you think the White Witch is? And the fact that everyone was just so invested really did allow for an episode like 6 to really just fly off the page. It was incredible.
Are you guys having to do anything? I'm sorry, go ahead, Marley.
Oh, I was just going to say that was really, it's safe to say, our most complicated, ambitious episode of the season. And, multiple cameras going at this carnival set. There were points where all 3 of us were in different places filming different things. And yeah, it was astounding to watch. But I do think, it turned out exactly as we imagined, like just the way that we pitched it in the room and then the way Heather wrote it, it turned out so much like we wanted it to.
That's got to be really satisfying to see something and have it be pitch perfect the way you wanted it to look. That's got to be incredibly satisfying. Do you guys have like anything for the cast to sign for season 2 from a spoiler standpoint where they have to like sign they can't like talk about certain things, or is there certain verbiage you give the cast when they get grilled by us or something and they have to answer these questions? Or is there certain things they're allowed to say and not say, or is it just a don't talk about the plot of the show carte blanche situation?
Like when Annie McDowell comes on our show.
Of course, when you have Andy, when she comes on in 3 weeks, July 11th, I believe, when she comes on,
it's not happening. But
she got everybody out there. That'd be great. I mean, tell her that we're South Carolina boys and we love her dearly. Please,
we will.
No, I will.
Do they have, how much freedom do they have in that regard?
Not much.
Fair.
I think they get the scripts quite close to when we shoot, probably like 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time. I think, we made a point this season, especially because we had our cast when we were in our writer's room for season 2, to talk with them about, what they loved about first season, what they kind of their hopes and dreams were for their characters. And that was really great to do off the top. But yeah, they're kind of in the dark until we go into prep on an episode block, because we shoot 2 episodes at the same time.
Wow.
And it's fun. It's fun to do the read-throughs because there's people that go, wait, what? As they're saying their lines, and it's fun.
That's great.
I mean, we're all kind of under this cone of silence in regards to season 2, crew, everyone, not just cast.
Well, let me ask you about season 2. How much of season 2 will take place in the White Witch time frame versus modern day? I'm still gonna ask it. Is it
A, 20%, B, 40%?
I imagine we get more White Witch in season 2 than we got this season.
The better question is are you having to construct a third set, a colonial set, if you will?
Yeah, we sadly, I wish we could say something, but yeah, all we can sort of say is that yes, questions will be answered and
Oh my
more
gosh.
questions will be revealed.
It's all going to be Elliot's villain origin story.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, if you show up and they're about to burn Kat and one of the people with a torch is Elliot.
Elliot
Like, come
walks.
on,
no,
man.
Elliot walks in and says, "Stop!" And then he grabs the torch.
Yeah.
He says, "I want this one."
Roll credits, end of series, because Hallmark.
How did you know?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
And then Jacob walks up with his mom, and they're holding hands.
So this
It's a weird season.
You probably will answer, unlike that question. What % of season 2? No, I'm just kidding. The music is such a big part of this show. And I graduated high school in 2001, and I feel like a lot of what's going on in the high school in 99 like is just like meant for me. Like it's like that era. I mean, they're singing Sister Hazel in the car. I mean, just all kinds of great stuff here. Like my question is that sometimes you guys do use the original tracks, and sometimes you'll have like a really great cover of Baby One More Time, which is like unbelievably good cover. What all goes into that? I assume a lot of it is money, because if you cover the song, then you don't have to pay as much for the rights to it. Am I way off base there? Or what, is that all a big budget conversation? Or do you guys go in and go, we need these 8 90s songs, get the spin doctors on the phone? Like, what do you do? Like, what, like, how does that work exactly?
Yeah, we've become very close with Sister Hazel. It's
yes.
Isn't that the dream?
Besties.
friendship that's been created. We have an incredible music supervisor named Jennifer Piken, and she does, she's given a budget every season, and we have to stay within that budget for sure. But it's everyone on the show knows how important the music is. So we've been given a really lovely chance to do a little deep dive, because we've always said it is a time travel show, but season 1 we're traveling back to 99, which technically is not that long ago. And so music, not much changes. I mean, my parents still have the same couch from 99. What places you is the music. And that's what sort of makes you go, oh God, yeah, do you remember that song? Like, where was I when I first heard that? And and so I think from day one, that was a hugely important part of things for us. Contrary to popular belief, and Jennifer can correct me if I'm wrong, I think whether it's a cover or whether it's the real deal, there isn't much of a difference.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Sadie, who plays Alice, is such an incredible singer. And, even when she auditioned and she sang, it was just like, okay, there's Alice. And her cover of Baby One More Time was just like, we all fell in love with it. It's such a perfect deconstructed version of it.
I'm still waiting for it to drop on Spotify. By the way.
Me too.
Yeah, I would listen to that. Speaking of the music, the episode titles. When was it? When
We
in the
noticed that
series?
a lot of them were songs, but not all of them are songs.
Are all of them songs? What is it? Because like there's some that's very clear, and there's some that I'm like, that is a song, but it came out in like 2021. I don't know if that like. Everything is a song title. So what is it? What are we looking for?
Remember when we
here?
talked about how we like to stick to rules? Sometimes that didn't always pan out.
I just didn't think anyone was going to pay attention to the names. Like, we kind of did it for fun.
I mean, episode 3 was I don't want to miss a thing.
Yeah.
And you didn't think we were going to notice?
Tell me we're not singing that on here.
Yeah,
Come
there's
on.
nothing we could do about that. And then I think it was that episode. And
Then we were
it-
like, wait a minute. Yeah,
we're like
for
scar
sure.
tissue, that's a mother's mind.
Yeah, that's right. And then
What's my age again? Come on.
Evan sings Time After Time, Cyndi Lauper, and he crushes that. Like, there's so much, I think that, at the end of the day, and I think you guys deserve all the praise that you're getting, that what makes this show so special is if you have doggedly put character first. It's not a time travel show first. It's fun for me to hem and haw about it and talk to you about like keeping the rules, but you guys have made the characters indelible. You've made them people that we care about with integrity, who've suffered loss, who care, who act in a manner that the characters should act. And those are the touches that make this show flourish. And so it should not come as a surprise to us that music is a big part of that. But how do you find out that somebody like Evan, like, hey, Evan, could you give us a Time After Time? Like, how does that something, do you ask that in the interview process when you're auditioning them, or does that just come out of nowhere?
That one, I think, came out of no. I mean,
Yeah.
we knew Evan could sing. I
Yeah.
think you played me that song at the premiere.
Yeah,
That's
no,
great.
he and I had chatted about, as he was trying to figure out the character off the top of the season, and we had some really big conversations that were so great because he, so dedicated to that role, and it is a unique role in the sense that yes, he does know all, but he's also very trapped, and he was sort of asking me what music I had been listening to as we worked in the writers' room, and I'd mentioned, for the modern aspect of things, an artist named Simmel, Syml, and I'd been listening to a lot of his stuff. It felt like very moody for the present day stuff. And yeah, like around the premiere, he sort of came to me and said, "So I did something," and it's this, and it was this incredible deconstructed cover of Time After Time in that sort of style.
Wow.
And we all, I remember all of us listening to it in New York and just going, "Oh my gosh, this has to be somewhere in the show." It's crazy. And no, that was all him.
One more question, and then I think we'll
wrap it up. Yeah.
Is there any theory out there that you heard? Like, what was your favorite theory?
Yeah, just a laugher.
Like
just
that, you were just like this. Aside
not
from
Byron is Jacob, not sick.
Which again, and you can have that for free.
That's free.
I'm not asking for anything in return.
Elliot's the ultimate bad guy. I just saved that one.
But is there anything else out there that you've been like, you know what, that's not bad? Maybe tuck that away.
Oh gosh.
Oh God, yes. But now I can't think of them.
I know.
Alex.
She's not going to share those.
No.
Share us one that's just.
You texted me, and it wasn't a keeper one. It was a what? And I can't remember.
The funny one was someone pitching the Jacob is Byron theory.
Yep.
Or no, it was they were.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm cutting out again. Their theory was that Jacob was Colton.
Yes.
Whoa.
I can't even remember how they'd worked it out, but it was Jacob becomes Colton. And then, but the screenshot I sent to Alex laughing so hard was the commenter underneath them said, "I really don't think Hallmark's going to go there with an incest storyline."
Yeah.
Yeah. Hallmark hasn't had notes yet, but you throw that up there. Hallmark may have some notes.
Don't think they're going to go there.
Yeah, for
It
sure.
is the goal. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No. I think all the questions about Dell and what she knows were always really interesting to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we did keep her dialogue pretty ambiguous in those key moments just to kind of up that factor. But it was really nice to see people theorize to the point of no, she's the White Witch, she's known all along, or she knows where Jacob is, or those were the really fun ones to kind of watch.
It's so great because she has so much gravitas, and she can play hurting mother, and she can also play all-knowing, wise, sage wisdom, and it's, you guys did such a great job, ladies. I thank you so much for spending time talking to us. This has been just the best, and we hope you come back when season 2 comes out, and once again not give us any percentage on how much is taking place during colonial times.
Are we thinking similar time for season 2 time frame?
For the premiere?
Yeah.
TBD. I mean, we're writing, so it's exciting, and yeah, we're I don't know how much I can divulge about that. So
all right. Well,
what we did get the scoop we got was 10 seasons have been confirmed.
10 seasons confirmed,
and that is good. And we'll try to get another scoop next time.
And I guess Jacob's not dating his mom.
Right. But you never know. But
you never. I'm just saying,
stop it.
You go if you think about it too, though. If you never mind, we're not going to get into it.
You've made a wonderful show that you should be incredibly proud of because it is a joy to watch each and every week. And whenever it's coming back, we hope soon. We're ready. We're ready over here. There's no doubt about it.
Well, and thank you guys for
Awesome.
all of your support on the show through your reviews. It was such a joy to listen to you guys and listen to the growing love for the show. That was nice to hear. It was fabulous.
Yep.
Wonderful.
You won me over every week.
I love that. Thank you all for joining us, and we always end every episode by wishing everybody a very Merry Christmas. Nailed it.
Deck the Hallmark is a Bramble Jam podcast. It's produced by Aaron Shea. For more information on Deck the Hallmark, you can go to deckthehallmark.com. For more information on the Deck the Hallmark family, you can go to bramblejamplus.com. Deck the Hallmark is presented by Philo TV. For a free trial of Philo, go to philo.tv/DTH.